There's another side of Guantanamo that is not exactly so much on the table, that is very important, particularly for Guantanamo, for people who live in Guantanamo, and for Cubans who live in Cuba. That is that the second largest bay in Cuba can be used or developed because there's a US naval base right there at the entrance of the bay. So what Cuba is doing now with Brazil and with Singapore and other countries to have the Mariel harbor developed, expanded, great investments, etc., can't be done as long as we have the naval base right there. And Mariel fits 16 times within the Guantanamo Bay area. Guantanamo happens to be the less developed province in Cuba. Then, the most important natural resource available in Guantanamo is that bay. That bay that dominates the whole Caribbean range. And it's going to be much more valuable now that the new Panama Canal will be open next year. So transportation flow below Cuba and through the Florida Straits is going to increase several times. And to have a bay with the natural conditions the naval base in Guantanamo, the bay in Guantanamo has, is something very important in terms of the national economic interest, and particularly the Guantanamo economic interest. And that will be closed until we have the base eliminated in terms of a military base, in order to create an environment in which both sides may cooperate and that Cuba may take the opportunity of developing something so important for Cuba like the Guantanamo Bay, particularly in this new context where transportation through the Caribbean will become one very important economic interest.
Guantanamo is a historical issue. It's a historical issue that has to do with eliminating the vestiges of the old domination of Cuba by the United States. But Guantanamo, right now, we live with Guantanamo. As a matter of fact, there was a period in the history of our relationship with the United States where Guantanamo was a threat, a present threat to Cuba, because provocations, attacks were carried out from Guantanamo. Guantanamo could be used to invade Cuba. There have been documents revealed from the Pentagon that Guantanamo, that the Pentagon really considered organizing a provocation in Guantanamo in order to have the casus belli to attack Cuba. Thanks to a very smart policy of the Cuban government, which has been basically a dissuasive policy. Cuba has achieved what most international relations scholars call a confidence-building regime in Guantanamo. The two commanders meet every month. They invite each other to important activities. We talk to each other. When the prison camp was opened, Raúl Castro, who was the Minister of the Armed Forces, said, if one of the prisoners escapes, we will return it to the bay. We are military men, we obey orders. So, for us, Guantanamo is ideologically, historically, very important. But it's not as threatening or as dangerous as subversive policy and the blockade, because they are part of a complete policy of undermining Cuba. Guantanamo is from the past. And that edge, that aspect that Guantanamo had as an instrument to provoke Cuba and to hurt Cuba doesn't exist anymore. As a matter of fact, for example, to give an example, there was a time when every time that a US plane violated Cuban airspace, taking off or taking landing in Guantanamo, immediately we send a protest note to the Department of State. You have violated our airspace. Long time ago, we sat down. We said, okay, let's have a corridor. Okay, you can use this corridor. So we are not in the same Guantanamo we can handle from the point of view of actual aggressive intent. But of course, historically, the Cuban people will never rest until Guantanamo is back part of us, because it was taken from us by the imperialist policies of the past. All that, I think, has to be taken into account in what Rafael said was the practical issue of negotiating. We are playing a chess game now, but the important thing is that the rules of the chess game are exactly the same for Cuba and the United States.
Bueno, creo que dije demasiado resumidamente por el tiempo mi pensamiento sobre los cambios fundamentales para que uno crea definitivamente en la relación.
Well, perhaps I made quite a long speech previously, response about how I see the changes in the relations with the United States going.
Por eso quiero retomar algo que dije en la plenaria.
That's why I'd like to return to something that I said in the plenary session.
Que en una reunión con Josefina Vidal, que preside por la parte cubana las negociaciones con Estados Unidos.
In a meeting with Josefina Vidal, who leads the Cuban delegation in the negotiations with the United States.
Yo le preguntaba en qué lugar, en cuál de los tres puntos, de los tres segmentos de negociación estaba incluido el bloqueo, la base y las actividades subversivas contra Cuba.
I asked her in which of the three themes that I mentioned this morning was the question of the blockade, the question of Guantanamo, and the question of subversive activities against Cuba included in those negotiations.
Y dijo claramente que eran el punto de las demandas mutuas.
And she referred to the third theme about the mutual demands.
Creo honestamente, como Rafael, que en el caso de la base naval,
I think, just like Rafael, in the case of the naval base,
como en el caso de las demandas por daños económicos y humanos,
as well as the question of damages for human and other losses,
cada parte pondrá su punto de vista respecto a la negociación.
each part will put their point of view for the negotiations.
Y en el caso de la base naval, por la cantidad de instalaciones físicas que existen,
And in the case of the naval base, because of the number of physical installations that exist there,
yo también considero que podría ser escenario de algún tipo de cooperación
I too think that there may be a scenario of some type of cooperation.
y yo creo que la cooperación fundamental que se ha ido ya avanzando, que se ha visto más claramente,
I think the most clear example we have of that so far
tiene que ver con la colaboración médica,
is, for example, the medical collaboration,
científica
scientific collaboration,
y en favor de Haití,
and in support of Haiti,
que está, por cierto, muy cerca
which is actually quite close to us.
del territorio ocupado ilegalmente por los Estados Unidos.
Also very close to Guantanamo.
Lo que yo aspiro es que no haya militares cuando ese acuerdo se haga, si es que hay algún acuerdo.
If I have an aspiration about Guantanamo, is that when we come to an agreement about it, there's no military personnel there.
Pero es solo una aspiración.
But that's just an aspiration.
No tengo capacidad para adelantar el futuro.
I don't have the capacity to advance the future.